Hey, what's up everybody? Robert Marzullo here, and I want to do a series of videos on anatomy study and the study of musculature on the human body, stuff like that. So today we're going to study the abdomen. So let's get started. And what I want to do is show you kind of how the muscles align and where they go. And then what we'll do from there is do a couple angle shots, and I'll show you a couple techniques on which you would shade them. This will be a little bit more uh, in alignment with comic book illustration, because if you follow my videos, that's typically what I cover. Um, it's mainly in the pursuit of me uh, trying to get better at comic illustration. But what happens here is I'm able to show you guys sort of the practice methods that I do to get better, and in turn, uh, educate um, people that are also learning and studying, that want to learn from home or whatever. So, what I'm doing now is basically drawing the underlying muscle shapes that go with the abdomen area. And a good thing to keep in mind with the stomach muscles, which they got named like rectus abdominis. The in between areas are, you know, in between the muscles, like right there, is called like tendinous inscriptions, something like that. And study your own name reference. I don't really study that as much. I'm looking more to get better at drawing the shapes and illustrations of it. But a good thing to keep in mind right here with the muscles, a lot of times if you're drawing a very muscular character, the muscle is going to come around and kind of shadow the one below it, right? So, you're going to get kind of this effect. I'll just do some line work here to show the shadowing. But in all reality, I guess if you're drawing a very skinny kind of cut, not overly bulky, muscular person, in all reality, there's a space there. So you can keep that in mind depending on the type of character you're drawing. For reality's sake, it would actually go more like this, where you'd see the shape of the muscle like that, and then you would shade inward like this, so it shows the protrusion of the muscle from the background, and you'd shade each one like that. But traditionally, more in comics, what you're going to see is people shadow it where the muscle over top shadows below, and also that's more portraying the effect that there's a downward light source right over top of the character, which is also very common in comic illustration and just you know in general. That's generally where most light sources are coming from. You get some upward angle light here and there. Say you're trying to draw a character above a city, and in that case, the light is, in that instance, more likely coming up onto the underneath of the character, and the shadows change. But so I just wanted to show you that depending on how bulky the muscle is, your shadows are going to change. But the shapes that I'm doing here are pretty much the way it's going to be. Now, the other thing is whether or not you want your musculature to look bubbly, like basically like right here. It looks very bubbly and rounded and balloon like. Um, and I didn't mean for that to happen. I'll actually shade away from that because I don't like that. But what I'm saying is, like, when you're illustrating stuff like this, that's something you want to keep in mind what you're going for. Are you going for a more angular look? Do you like that inflated muscle look? Um, because you often hear me say with stuff like this, there's definitely more ways than one to skin a cat. Well, you've got the underlying anatomy that you can study from real life, but there's so many different ways to shade that and bring that to fruition with what you're trying to do. So, there's thousands, if not millions, of ways to perceive it and come up with your own style and the way to do this. Um, Now then from here you've got your oblique muscles that would come along the side here, excuse me, and they'd come around and down like that. You kind of do this motion. And I guess what I'm trying to learn here myself and convey to you is look for these shapes. That's what you're trying to get good at, so that when you go back to draw them your own way, um, you remember more of the shapes that connect it all together. You know, like these here, I think of these like, you know, like the rib cage or something, but it's really not. It's the muscle over the rib cage, and it kind of takes some of that shape, and maybe connects to them. I would imagine all your muscles connect to the underlying bone structure, so that's probably why they take on this shape. But these are actually the muscles that do this. Um, you'll notice, like in most, the ribs only show up here. Uh, you know, if you look at yourself in the mirror, that's generally where your ribs pop out, not down here. But this is, you know, again, we're drawing the musculature, not the way it would look entirely in real life, unless you're just exceptionally ripped, you know. Which, if you are, more power to you, I guess. I am not this cut, nor will I probably ever be again. Alright, so there's the chest. So, and I'm going to stay away from the chest. That's a whole nother ball game. I mean, there's more detail just in that. I want to focus just on this abdomen section. Maybe we'll add the lats right here. The lats kind of protrude around. They kind of do this where they, you know, they come into here and they create the shape here with the rib cage and the what is it, external abdominal obliques, I think. um, and then you get your lateris, your lats up here, and that's how you kind of come to your shape. And then from here you can kind of do this other shape where the obliques come down, connect through the pelvis like that. You know, and there's pretty much an abdomen. So, you know, and then again, you want to focus on, okay, how would I shade this? How, you know, one good way to look at it at first is to give the entirety of the object one big light source. So you'd come through here, maybe through here, here. Okay, so there's your one big light source, and I don't even usually fill that in. I just kind of make sure I can see it in my sketch. But then you go back through and do your individual peaks of light, you know, where maybe this entire thing isn't in shadow like that. And then you got maybe your secondary light, which comes around and kind of highlights and dances around the edge. And, you know, in comics you do these little X marks the shadow kind of thing, just so you don't have to fill in shadows the entire way through. And that's kind of how you do that. So you see it looks a little more realistic when you do that one big shape and then kind of fine tune it. If not, and you end up going around each muscle and doing this, you can do that a little bit, but if you do it too much, it looks a little silly. You know, light doesn't have the opportunity generally to hit each and every spot, and each and every spot doesn't get the same amount of light where it would be treated that way. So just something else. That's kind of off topic, but I figured I would say something about that. Alright, so we'll move this guy over, and let's see what else can we do here. I guess it would help to do more of a leaned over shot. Okay, so if we're gonna draw the same oblique area or abdomen area, let's see, and we're going to lean the character over. So what we'll do is kind of draw this center line like that. This is the center line of the stomach muscles, and we'll kind of, you know, I always like drawing a layout like this to the front. then I can kind of look over at that for reference as I'm filling this in, and it makes it a lot easier for me. Plus that center line method gives you that point of origin. So now what I'm going to do is, being that this is kind of a quarter turn or whatever, an angle shot, I'm going to start progressively hiding some of the stuff over to the side here. So it kind of disappears from that angle, where you'll see more of it in full over on this angle, and that's just a little bit of a foreshortening effect. And these guys kind of down through there. Now if the arm wasn't blocking it, you get a little bit more of the lat on this side. And then here you'd probably get a bit of a bend in the muscles like that as they're leaning over kind of. And then to bring that out further, you would show more of that with the shadowing. And it's not a very extreme bend, it's just kind of a slight bend at the waist there. But I'm showing this for practice sake, how you would take the same thing and change the angle and perceive it a little bit. And you know, there's nothing wrong with just doing small increments too, but then do a few of them. And I've said this in other videos, like do a few of these angles. Once you find something you like, pin it to the wall in front of your drawing table and kind of think in terms of, hey, I've got that part covered now, and then come back and attack a different area. And then after you feel that you've gained more confidence, you know, I'm sure within a few years of doing these, this one's going to look more amateur to me. So I'll probably go back, change it, and then take that one down from the wall and pin up a new one. So that really helps to progress your art, to see that change, and to kind of stockpile these things and see yourself get better. So just something to try for you. And let's see, let me do one more, but then trying to think of a good angle shot that would help you. I guess we could do a profile, because it's, you know, it's real typical too. So profile, you're going to have the abdomen, or the sternum is going to look more protruded outward. So I'll start with the sternum here, come back through to the rib cage. And again, I lean more towards comic illustrations, so mine's going to look more slightly animated, especially this angle, which I draw a lot for. Honestly, and I said I'd stay away from the chest muscle, but I went right to drawing that. There's that. These kind of just do this overlap shape, like you've seen up in here, from each angle. And the stomach muscles actually break away at the ends here, and then kind of do this little thing right there. So they kind of string along the side here. So there's a little breakaway spot right there. So you see that more from this angle. Then again, a little bit of shading underneath if they're a bulky character. It's always good to put that shadow right here too. There's that. And I think the lat from this angle is going to do kind of like this job right there. And these kind of go like this. And this is always a tricky part where the back muscles come around and then connect to the oblique here. I want to say it's something like that. And then to bring this shape out, I'd probably have more of the shadow hit right there. I'd have this shadow roll up and around like that from this angle. And I'll show you what that looks like. And on the chest muscle, kind of come around and do that. Okay. And we could get into shadowing. That's a whole nother whole nother subject in itself. But this one, like I said, I just want to pretty much focus on the abdomen area. So you might even see a little bit of the other muscles from this angle, something like that. Sometimes that helps convey some depth when you throw that in there. Yep. So that's about it. I don't want to make this video too long, but I just wanted to show a little bit of the study that goes into uh, what I do to kind of train myself to draw this, and have some life poses in front of you, have some medical illustrations in front of you, and practice doing this, and it'll kind of embed that into your mind to next time you go to do this, it'll come out a little bit easier. So, and then from there you just go to the next piece, like, well, the leg connects into here, and what does that shape do? What does that look like? And you just kind of keep growing it from there. So hopefully that helps you a bit, and be sure to let me know what you thought of the video. Like and subscribe if you don't mind, and give me ideas for the next ones to bring to you. What body part you want to see. I figure I'll do a few that are on the anatomy and different subject matters of each part of the body, and then just progressively go through um, to better, comic illustration and figure drawing and stuff like that. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it very much, and I'll have some more for you real soon. Thanks. Bye bye.